At 12:42 a.m. on the quiet, moonlit night of March 8, 2014, a Boeing 777 operated by Malaysia Airlines took off from Kuala Lumpur and turned toward Beijing, climbing to its assigned cruising altitude of 35,000 feet. The flight number was 370. Fariq Hamid, the first officer and pilot in command named Zahari Ahmad Shah, was flying the airplane. The crew of the MH370 last communicated with air traffic control around 38 minutes after takeoff when the flight was over the South China Sea. Then the aircraft was lost from ATC radar screens minutes later, with all 227 passengers and 12 crew aboard presumed dead. The disappearance of Flight 370 was the deadliest in aviation history. The search for the missing airplane, which became the most expensive in aviation history, focused initially on the South China Sea and Andaman Sea. The aircraft, a Boeing 777 operated by Malaysia Airlines, last made voice contact with ATC at 1:19 a.m. the 8th of March when it was over the South China Sea, less than an hour after takeoff. It disappeared from ATC radar screens at 1:22 a.m. The last verbal signal to air traffic control occurred at 1:19 a.m., when Captain Zahari acknowledged a transition from Kuala Lumpur radar. The crew was expected to signal air traffic control in Ho Chi Minh City as the aircraft passed into Vietnamese airspace, just north of the point where contact was lost, but was lost at about the same time on radar at Vietnamese airspace. Air traffic control uses secondary radar, which relies on a signal emitted by a transponder on each aircraft. Transponder was no longer functioning on Flight 370 after 1:21 a.m. The Kuala Lumpur Aeronautical Rescue Coordination Center was activated at 5:30 a.m. 4 hours after communication was lost with the aircraft to coordinate search and rescue efforts. Search efforts began in the Gulf of Thailand and the South China Sea. The search zone was expanded to include part of the Strait of Malacca. On the 12th of March, the chief of the Royal Malaysian Air Force announced that an unidentified aircraft believed to be Flight 370 had traveled across the Malay Peninsula and was last sighted on military radar 370 kilometers northwest of the island of Penang. Search efforts were subsequently increased in the Andaman Sea and Bay of Bengal. Meanwhile, investigators began to analyze the aircraft's satellite communication records. Like all modern aircrafts, Flight 370 was equipped with a satellite communication terminal to send and receive transmissions to and from ground. Records of signals sent between the aircraft and a communication satellite over the Indian Ocean revealed that the plane had continued flying for almost 6 hours after its final sighting on Malaysian military radar. At 2:25 a.m., the aircraft's satellite communication system sent a log on request message which was relayed by satellite to a ground station. While these transmissions did not contain any information about the flight's position, investigators were able to measure the distance between the satellite and aircraft at the time of each transmission based on how long it took those transmissions to be sent and received. This generated 7 rings of possible locations from which 7 of these transmissions are thought to be originated. By taking fuel consumption, speed and other factors, and estimated that it was to be somewhere in southern Indian Ocean. Initial analysis of these communications determined that Flight 370 was along one of 2 arcs equidistant from the satellite when its last signal was sent. The governments of Malaysia, China, and Australia made a joint commitment to thoroughly search 120,000 kilometers of seafloor. No any traces of aircraft was found. So, search operations was called off. On the 17th of October 2017, Dutch-based Fugro and American company Ocean Infinity offered to resume the search for the aircraft. But they also failed to find. In late July 2015, the first item of aircraft's right flaperon was found on a beach in Saint André, Réunion. In the weeks following Flight 370's disappearance, theories ranged from mechanical failure to pilot suicide. The loss of the ACARS and transponder signals spurred ongoing speculation about some form of hijacking, but no individual or group claimed responsibility, and it seemed unlikely that hijackers would have flown the plane to the southern Indian Ocean. The signals had likely been switched off from inside the aircraft suggested suicide by one of the crew, a possibility that Malaysian authorities have yet to rule out, but nothing suspicious was found in the behavior of the captain, the first officer, or the cabin crew prior to the flight. After the discovery of the debris, some speculated that Flight 370 was shot down, but no evidence of shrapnel from a missile or other projectiles has been found. A number of theories suggest that the disappearance may have been the result of a fire in the cockpit, cargo compartment, landing gear, or another part of the plane, creating oxygen deficiency in plane, because of which flight crew and passengers might have fainted. Flight flew on autopilot until fuel exhaust and later crashed on southern Indian Ocean. Click on right to watch such mysterious videos and subscribe to become member of our channel.